Navigate the shadows, embrace the light, and embrace the fog, or not.
I never believed in ghosts or haunted houses. I'd always been a skeptic, attributing any weird noises or shadows to the quirks of old buildings. But that was before I moved into the old Victorian house on the edge of town. The place was cheap, which should have been my first red flag. The previous owners had left in a hurry, leaving behind all their furniture, a thick layer of dust, and an unsettling silence that seemed to follow me wherever I went. The first night was strange. I chalked up the creaks and groans of the house to its age, but by the second night, I couldn't ignore it anymore. Around 2 a.m., I was jolted awake by a faint scratching sound. It was rhythmic, almost deliberate. I sat up in bed, straining to hear, and it seemed to be coming from the wall near my bed. I told myself it was just the house settling and tried to ignore it, but sleep wouldn't come. The scratching grew louder and more insistent. Unable to bear it any longer, I grabbed a flashlight and ventured into the basement, hoping to find some pipes or wires that might explain the noise. The basement was musty and filled with old furniture and boxes. The scratching sound was louder here, echoing off the stone walls. I followed it to a section of the wall that seemed oddly out of place. It was a small, crudely patched section, almost like someone had tried to cover something up. With a mix of curiosity and dread, I started tapping on the wall. The scratching intensified, as if something behind the wall was trying to get out. I found a loose brick and managed to pry it away. The space behind it was dark, and when I shone my flashlight inside, I found something terrifying. There was a small, dusty compartment. Inside, I discovered an old, leather-bound journal and several photographs. The journal was filled with cryptic entries about someone being trapped and desperate to escape. The photographs were of various people. Some looked familiar, others didn't. But they all had one thing in common. Their eyes were scratched out. I flipped through the journal, and as I did, I noticed a date that matched my own. It described the author's growing sense of paranoia and fear, the feeling of being watched, and an increasing certainty that someone, or something, was trying to reach them. Just as I was about to close the journal, I heard it again. The scratching, but now it was coming from all around me. My flashlight flickered and went out, plunging me into darkness. Panic surged through me as I scrambled to find the exit, but the scratching grew louder, more desperate. I could hear muffled whispers, voices that seemed to come from inside the walls themselves. I finally made it back to my room and barricaded myself inside. The scratching continued for hours, fading only when the first light of dawn broke through my window. I never slept well after that. The noises continued intermittently, and every time I tried to investigate further, they seemed to move, as if whatever was in the walls was toying with me. To this day, I don't know what was behind those walls or why the house seemed to be alive with fear. I moved out shortly after, but every now and then, I hear scratching in the walls of my new place, and I can't help but wonder if something, or someone, escaped that old Victorian house and followed me here.